Is Boston really betting on Torrey Craig? Or is this just a sentimental farewell tour? What if I told you one of the most forgettable names on the Celtics bench this past season is now actively campaigning for a second chance? And not just anywhere, but in Boston. Torrey Craig, the veteran forward who slipped in quietly mid-season and left almost no statistical trace, now says he's eager to come back. But here's the twist. He might actually get his wish. And that raises a bigger, more uncomfortable question. What does that say about the Celtics' offseason strategy? Let's be honest, Torrey Craig's time in Boston didn't exactly light up TD Garden. In 17 regular season games, he averaged fewer than 3 points and rebounds per contest. He wasn't part of Joe Mazzulla's real rotation, and his impact on the court was, at best, peripheral. If you blinked, you probably missed his only memorable outing. A 12-point night against a disinterested Sixers squad in early March. That was it. That was the peak. Yet here he is, speaking glowingly about the cool experience of being around a championship-caliber locker room and declaring his interest in staying. "I love everything about Boston," Craig told Celtics blog. "If it was available, then I would see myself coming back. Cool experience. Sure. But is cool enough reason to hand someone another contract? The Celtics are staring at a financial puzzle that could drastically reshape the back end of their roster, with Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum's mega extensions inflating, the payroll and Al Horford potentially retiring. Boston is in line for tough strategic decisions. Cheaper veterans who know their role and know when to speak up or sit down become valuable. That's the tiny crack in the door Craig is eyeing. But should sentimentality and familiarity outweigh performance? That's where things start to feel murky. Craig isn't bringing youth, upside, or a standout skill set. At 34, he is who he is, a passable wing defender, a streaky shooter, 35.4% from 3 over his career, which is fine, but unremarkable, and a respected locker room presence. Is that enough? In a vacuum, maybe. But this isn't a vacuum. This is Boston, a team that just won a title, has sky-high expectations, and is allegedly trying to repeat for the first time in over 55 years. Is the bar really this low? Boston. Fans have seen what meaningful depth looks like. Guys like Derek White and Drew Holiday don't just fill minutes, they change games. So the question becomes, is Craig another Blake Griffin-esque insurance policy, a veteran kept around more for morale than minutes? Or are the Celtics quietly preparing for a much deeper bench downgrade than anyone is expecting? Craig, for his part, claims this roster could still contend even if Jayson Tatum misses most of the season, a hypothetical that would send shockwaves across the league. "I feel like even without JT, this team could still compete for a championship," he said. "They're talented. This group is way more capable." It's a bold statement. Optimistic, definitely, but plausible? Let's pump the brakes. If the Celtics are betting on depth pieces like Torrey Craig to step into the spotlight in the event of a Tatum absence, it reveals something quietly troubling. They may be preparing for a grittier, grind-it-out identity, one that doesn't rely on flashy free agents or star-heavy rotations, and that could put them at a competitive disadvantage, especially in an Eastern Conference that's not getting any easier. Unpopular take. Maybe the Celtics need a Torrey Craig. Here's the argument few are making, and fewer want to hear. Maybe Boston actually benefits from a player like Craig in ways that don't show up in a box score. Maybe his on-court value is irrelevant compared to his impact behind closed doors. In a locker room full of max contracts and egos, there's room and need for guys who understand their place, embrace the grind, and still bring intensity every practice. There's also this. Boston's system under Mazzulla is notoriously complex. A guy who's already absorbed that playbook might have more short-term value than a random G League signing or untested rookie, especially one who won't complain about minutes. But still, shouldn't we expect more from our defending champions? The Torrey Craig situation isn't just about one player wanting to stick around. It's a microcosm of a larger, more uncomfortable discussion about Boston's roster strategy heading into the 2025-26 season. Are they going to keep padding the bench with aging role players in the hopes of preserving chemistry, or will Brad Stevens aggressively chase youth, energy, and athleticism to keep the Celtics sharp. Is Brad Stevens about to pull off another heist with Danny Ainge? Or is Boston playing with fire? What if the most important move of the Celtics offseason didn't involve Jayson Tatum, didn't make headlines, and didn't happen on the court? What if the key to Boston's future is hidden in a quiet phone call between two old allies, Brad Stevens and Danny Ainge, just days before the 2025 NBA draft? It might sound like a stretch, but if Stevens is serious about adapting to a season without his superstar, and Ainge is hungry to accelerate Utah's rebuild, the pieces are right there for something shocking, a trade that could change the course of both franchises. This is more than just a good opportunity. It's a rare alignment of leverage, history, and timing, and if the Celtics don't act, they might miss their best shot at quietly reshaping the roster before the rest of the league realizes what's happening. While most fans are still dreaming about back-to-back banners, the front office may be dealing with a more uncomfortable reality. 2025 might be a transitional year. Tatum's Achilles injury throws everything into question. How do you chase a title when your franchise cornerstone might not touch the court until late in the season? If at all, the popular idea is to hold the line, keep veterans like Drew, Holiday, and Kristaps Porzingis. Try to survive and hope Tatum returns for the playoffs. But what if that's exactly the wrong approach? Stevens could flip the script and flip the roster by leveraging the Celtics' aging, expensive assets in exchange for something that's always been the true currency of NBA power: draft capital, especially from a team like Utah. That's flush with picks and desperate for traction. This isn't about tanking, it's about getting ahead of the curve. And who better to help than the man who trained Brad Stevens to think this way? At first glance, Porzingis and Holiday don't seem like ideal fits for Utah's young core. They're older, expensive, and built to win now. But Ainge has made his career by zigging when everyone else zags. This is the same GM who saw value in absorbing aging legends like Garnett and Pierce, only to weaponize their contracts into a decade of dominance in Boston. So what if he sees Porzingis or Holiday as temporary veterans to stabilize a locker room, while Utah grooms their youth? And here's the kicker. Utah wants to move picks 21, 43, and 53. According to Jazz insider Sarah Todd, the Jazz are actively exploring trade options. That means there's a wide-open lane for Boston to package veterans, or even future assets, to climb up in the draft or stockpile selections for the post-Tatum reset. That kind of flexibility is rare, and Stevens knows it. Now let's talk about Lauri Markkanen and why this could be the real play. The 7-foot Finnish sniper is everything Boston needs if the plan is to transition away from Horford, Porzingis, and Kornet. A mobile, high IQ big who spaces the floor, doesn't need the ball, and thrives in motion offenses. Markkanen is exactly the type of player who could help bridge the gap between the current core and whatever comes next. Would Utah really let him go? Maybe not easily, but with Ainge holding a treasure chest of picks and no clear timeline to win now, everyone is technically available for the right price, especially if Boston sweetens the pot with future firsts or a combo of win-now players and pick swaps. Imagine the headlines. Brad Stevens steals Markkanen from Ainge. A poetic reversal of the Nets-Celtics robbery Ainge orchestrated a decade ago. Here's the part no Celtics fan wants to hear, but every smart front office must consider. Is it really worth clinging to Holiday and Porzingis if there's no clear title path this season? Holiday is 34. Porzingis has battled injuries throughout his career. Both are on the wrong side of their contracts. Neither guarantees championship contention without Tatum on the floor. So what's the point of keeping them if Boston might just be treading water all year? The smarter play might be to cash in now, while their value is still high, and flip those assets into younger players, draft flexibility, and roster versatility. That kind of bold reset doesn't mean waving the white flag. It means building something sustainable for when Tatum is fully back. And if that reset runs through Utah, even better.